Okay, let's see what's the next story here. You can sit on my lap if you want.
Jack and the Beanstalk.
We did Jack and the Beanstalk. We did Goldilocks. Next is The Ant and the Grasshopper. Here we go. Summer had just begun. Animals and insects scurried about, enjoying the summer sun. Summer's here, the best time of the year, the grasshopper sang. Warm sun, lots of fun. A line of ants marched past the grasshopper, carrying small seeds and bits of food. As they walked along, some crumbs fell to the ground. Before the ants could get them, the grasshopper had eaten the crumbs. The ant at the end... Oh, excuse you. The ant at the end walked up to the grasshopper. "We've worked very hard to gather this food," said the ant. "You should have helped us pick up what we dropped." "Summer is for play, not work," said the grasshopper. "Summertime is for planning and gathering," said the ant. "It's time for getting together all the food we will need for winter." "But winter is so far away. I think I'd rather go and play," sang the grasshopper. And he was about to hop away to do just that when the ant stopped him. "Wait! What about the food you took from us?" the ant asked. "Oh yes, thank you," the grasshopper pointed toward a field. "Over there is a whole field of wheat to replace your crumbs. I like cornfields better myself, but that might be too far for you to walk." And with that, the grasshopper hopped off to the cornfield. Look at the picture, bud. Here's the grasshopper. The grasshopper quickly forgot about the ant and leapt onto a cornstalk. A soft leaf gave him a bed. Above him, another leaf gave him shade. And within reach, smaller, tender leaves gave him food. Those ants can gather and work and store. I'll just snooze right here and snore. And he fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, the ant lined the tunnels of his home with seeds and other food. When the snow's on the ground, we'll be nice and warm in our nest. And we'll have plenty of food to eat and plenty of time to play, thought the ant. All summer, the grasshopper watched the ants. When they went to a picnic, he hopped along to eat his fill. While they carried food to their nest, he slept in his cornstalk bed. Then, one day, the grasshopper heard a loud noise. The farmer was coming to harvest the corn. The grasshopper jumped into the grass. "Close call, all in all," sang the grasshopper. "I just lost my bed and food." A line of ants was marching past and heard the grasshopper. The ants stopped. "The days are getting shorter, my friend, but there's still time for you to store food and find a winter shelter." The grasshopper thought for a second. "Not today. I've got to play," he sang, and hopped onto a toadstool and said, "This'll put a roof over my head. I'll just eat later instead." The grasshopper had just fallen asleep when he heard a plop. The next thing he knew, his toadstool fell over. "Oh, I'm sorry," chattered a squirrel above him. "My paws were so full of nuts that I dropped some. You can have them if you like." The grasshopper hopped away, singing to the squirrel, "No, thank you. I don't like nuts. No ifs, ands, or buts." Throughout the fields and the forest, he saw squirrels gathering nuts. They chattered, "Have you heard? This winter's going to be snowy, and I have a bunch of nuts. It'll be a long winter." All this work was making it very hard to play and to sleep. In the field, the grasshopper found a warm, sunny rock. He was just settling down when the ants began marching by again. "You again," he said to the ant. "I thought by now you'd have enough. You can't eat all that stuff." The ant smiled, but did not stop to talk. "It's always better to have a little extra than not enough," he called. The grasshopper frowned. The sun had moved and the rock was cold. The grasshopper hopped off to the apple orchard. Most of the leaves were gone from the trees, but he found a few small apples on the ground. He munched on them until he was full. Then he settled in for a nap near the root of a tree. The grasshopper shivered. He looked around for a sunny spot, but the sun was already gone from the sky. Someone needs to tell the sun that its working day is not nearly done, he sang unhappily. The sun was one thing the grasshopper didn't mind seeing at work. With each day, though, it seemed to work less and less. The days are getting shorter. The ground seemed colder, too. One day, when the grasshopper tried to nibble an apple, he found that it was frozen. "I don't like my apple in ice," said the grasshopper. He was so chilly that it was hard to think of a second line to his rhyme. Ice, nice, rice, mice. The grasshopper tried to think of something nice. "A warm place with lots of rice," he sang in a shivery voice. He didn't really like rice, but he was getting hungry. Then he thought, maybe I'll visit my friends, the mice. The grasshopper crept into the home of the field mice. It was warm inside. There was no sign of rice, but the grasshopper was sure they would have something else nice. "Thank you for visiting, Mr. Grasshopper," said Mother Mouse. "I would invite you to stay, but all of my sisters and brothers are moving in for the winter. Isn't that nice? Oh, here they are now." A crowd of mice entered into the nest. It was nice to see them hugging each other. But the grasshopper wanted the kind of nice that meant he had a place to live and something to
What
eat.
is that?
That's a nice cover. That's, I think, 3 little pigs. We'll get to that story sometime, too, for sure. Okay, let's finish the story of the grasshopper. He was out of luck at the mouse house. The grasshopper hopped back to the orchard. The ground was so cold that it hurt his tiny feet. "Where are those ants now that I need them?" sang the grasshopper. Suddenly, snow began to fall. It covered the grasshopper. With a jump, he fluttered his wings. He had to get inside or he would freeze. Hopping as fast as he could, the grasshopper raced to the ants' home. "Is anybody home?" he called as he stepped into the tiny tunnels. "Why aren't you out playing in the snow?" asked the wise ant. The grasshopper wanted to say that he had just come by for a visit, but he could feel the cold wind on his back. Sadly, the grasshopper sang, "I should have listened to what you said. Now I'm cold and scared and unfed." It wasn't the grasshopper's best song, but he hoped the ant would understand. The ant did understand, but he wanted to be sure the grasshopper understood too. "We got our food for the winter by working hard. If you stay with us this winter, you'll have to work hard too." The grasshopper gulped. What if it was a long winter, like the squirrel had said? But then he remembered the ice and snow. "Your job here will be to sing for us every day." And then the ant laughed, because winter is our time to play. All that winter, the grasshopper sang for the ant and his huge family. And the next summer, the grasshopper sang a song as he helped to gather food. "Summer work is slow and steady, but when winter comes, I'll be ready." What'd you think of that, bud? There he is, singing for his supper.